Welcome to Podfic Galore. I'm your horrible online reader, Goldskythe. I read out loud fanfictions for you busy bees, free of charge and no strings attached. Today I will continue reading the Naruto Alternative Universe fic by MisatosPenpen and PhoenixInnocence from Archive of Our Own called Scars. I hope you can at least try to enjoy my voice, and I will try my best for you with the equipment available to me. Note, this fic is rated explicit. On with the show. Scars by MisatosPenpen and PhoenixInnocence. Chapter 11. Monday, November 16th. Sasuke trudged inside the field office, feeling tired and weary from the night's events.
Sasuke!
Sakura ran up behind him.
Your keys. Not a scratch.
I trust you, he said with a small smile, checking the offered keys.
You alright?
Tired.
You should rest.
She yawned. Coming down from the adrenaline rush, Sasuke finished. Sakura did look about to drop. Head upstairs and rest a bit.
Do the same.
She left Sasuke, knowing the others were on their way, so Sasuke wouldn't be alone. Shikamaru and Temari preceded Kakashi and Genma. Kakashi was doing the honor of bringing Hiyashi in, but Sasuke wasn't fooled. It was for the Hyuga's protection. Kakashi was the only one confident that he could fend off the young man if he decided to attack his family's murderer. Sasuke threw a glare at Hiyashi as he passed by. The Hyuga smirked at him. Sasuke curled his fists, but he knew Kakashi would stop him before he even landed a hit. He headed upstairs with Shikamaru and Temari while Hiyashi was taken to a cell. I'm going to hang out in the lounge if you need me, Sasuke said. We probably won't need you tonight, Shikamaru said. Why don't you go home? Not yet. Shikamaru nodded to him. Sasuke entered the lounge and sat on the sofa. Kakashi and Genma passed the lounge on their way to join Shikamaru and Temari. Kakashi ducked in. You holding up?
Yeah.
Hiyashi's in the cell. Guarded. We're going to start the paperwork. You did most of the work, but it can't be official. You should take all the credit. I adapted everything in my report so you found the evidence. But give Naruto his due, it was sort of a task force effort in the end. I'll retroactively create the task force. You going to be alright for a few hours? I'll probably sleep. Do that. Kakashi left. Sasuke didn't want to admit it, but Hiyashi's words got to him. He went over the window. There wasn't anything to look at this late at night, but he couldn't sit around. Yes, Itachi had speculated about it before, that their father believed Sasuke was in fact Izuna's son, but Sasuke didn't think it was true. He couldn't be his uncle's child, but Hiyashi Hyuga had stated it like he knew for the fact he was. He couldn't believe that his mother would cheat on her husband, but he couldn't deny that their marriage hadn't been on solid footing after the I do's. He remembered his uncle Madara saying something about a rough patch between his parents, and that the only reason they worked things out was because he was conceived. He'd meant to reassure Sasuke that Fukaku loved him, but what if he really was his uncle's son? He caught a flash of blonde reflecting in the window and inwardly groaned, fearing for a moment that Deidara had returned from the hospital, but the hand on his shoulder told him it wasn't Deidara at all. Dope, Sasuke whispered, turning his head slightly to look at his concerned face. He felt his heart skip a beat. Even after everything he did to him, Naruto was still concerned for him. Maybe he should have trusted that Naruto wouldn't leave him like everyone else had.
It's over,
Naruto said. Not quite. I need a favor, Naruto. Naruto frowned, but Sasuke shook his head. Not that kind of favor.
Good, because you would be officially off probation and locked behind bars.
Point taken. Sasuke muttered. I need you to run a DNA sample for me. Mine.
You can't honestly believe that you're not your father's son?
I can't be sure anymore, Dobe. I need to know. For my peace of mind.
Why ask me and not Kakashi-sensei?
Sasuke frowned. Because I can't tell him how worried I am about this, and if I did, he would try to tell me that it didn't matter. I can already hear him in my head. Eventually I would believe him, but part of me would always wonder. You understood me well enough to know it matters. Plus, Kakashi doesn't know how to use those machines, and I know you went to the forensic seminar last spring in Suna and can work the machine. You love that shit. Naruto frowned too, but gave a nod.
Meet me up there.
Sasuke shook his head. Meet me in the bathroom. I'll be there in a few minutes.
The bathroom? Haven't we snuck around enough?
Please, this is different. It will be the only way I can slip out without Kakashi noticing, or hunting me down. He doesn't want me to go after Hiyashi. There was a window through which both younger agents could see Kakashi and the others working. Kakashi needed only to strain his neck a little to see them standing together, but he was currently occupied.
I'll see you there. Bring the swab.
You bring the swab. Naruto looked like he wanted to escalate into a full childish argument, but he just smiled and nodded.
I'll bring the swab.
And Sasuke was alone again. Sasuke had retrieved his and Itachi's phones from the bleeding Kakuzu, and now it rang. Yeah? Sasuke answered.
Hey, baby Uchiha. Your brother's doing fine. They've kicked me out for the night. They might release him tomorrow afternoon.
Thanks, Deidara.
So, what's going on over there?
Hiyashi's in a cell, and Kakashi's working on the paperwork.
You sound tired.
I am.
Go home and get some sleep. I'm heading home. I'll see you tomorrow at the hospital.
Yeah. Good night, Deidara. And thank you for everything.
Sure, baby Uchiha. Good night.
When he pulled the phone from his face and looked down to press the end call button, he saw the blood smeared on it. Kakuzu's. It was a bright red with the light shining through it. Then he noticed all the blood on his own hands. Itachi's. He shook. Sasuke knew Itachi would be alright, but it was good to hear it confirmed. He wished Itachi could be with him now, though. He was still alone in this damn lounge. Neji was home with his cousins. Sakura was probably napping somewhere, Naruto was in the small forensics lab, and everyone else was putting the case together. Sasuke was alone. The next few hours were hell. Sasuke now knew what it must be like for someone getting an STD test or waiting for a biopsy result. It was hell. He was twitchy and anxious. For some reason, he didn't want to wash his hands. Rather, he picked the blood from under his nails between his pacing. He kept standing up to pace for a minute, then sit back down, just to fidget. There really wasn't anything riding on this. If he wasn't Fukaku's son, then that just meant that he and Itachi were half-brothers/cousins, still family. Then again, he wouldn't really be in line to succeed his father. Then again, Itachi was the older brother anyway, and as soon as his name was cleared, he'd be back in the front of the line. Not that that mattered to Sasuke either. He wasn't entirely sure what he wanted to do right now. In the end, it was nothing except whether or not his mother cheated with her husband's younger brother. He knew DNA took time, but he wished Naruto would hurry up. At least, if he was home, he could open a bottle of sake to try and take the edge off. But all he had was a water cooler and a coffee maker, which would not be good for his nerves. Every little noise made his head snap towards it, hoping it was Naruto returning or Kakashi to comfort him. 3 hours after he left, Naruto finally came downstairs. Sasuke bolted up as if he was struck with lightning in the ass. Well?
You're in the clear. You're not pregnant.
Fuck you, Dobe! But the tension broke. Naruto laughed.
We do have all the samples from your family in the computer from the bodies. Your DNA was consistent with Fukaku's DNA and not as much with Izuna's. The difference of one genetic marker. I haven't checked Madara's. You're Fukaku's son.
Sasuke took a deep breath. He sagged and fell into the chair. He was suddenly very tired. All his nervous energy drained from him. I want to go home. Or the hospital. See if I can stay with my brother.
You look too tired to drive. I'll ask Kakashi to drive you.
Dobe, I don't think Kakashi will be jealous if you drive me home.
It should be him anyway.
Dobe.
Kakashi should get some sleep now too.
Sasuke nodded and let Naruto retrieve his rival. About 10 minutes later, Sasuke could barely keep his eyes open. Kakashi came in, startling Sasuke from his near doze. I'll take you home, Kakashi said. Thanks. Sasuke followed Kakashi down to his car. The silence was awkward. They were nearly to Sasuke's house when Sasuke broke it. I know saying it over and over doesn't make it more believable or truer, but I'm so sorry. I love you. I just couldn't bring myself to end it with Naruto. You really were the only one to... I'm prepared to lose Naruto, but not you. Kakashi pulled into Sasuke's empty driveway. Not getting any response from Kakashi, Sasuke got out of the car. He didn't realize Kakashi was following him until he heard the driver's side door shut and beep of the alarm being set. Sasuke opened the door and turned off the security system. Kakashi flashed the bird at the camera, hoping Kabuto was watching. They kicked off their shoes and Sasuke chucked his jacket. Kakashi shut the door. Sasuke turned and hugged Kakashi, crying into his chest. Kakashi had little choice. He hugged Sasuke back and mussed his hair. He let Sasuke cry. It had been a hectic and emotionally trying night. Once Sasuke calmed down, Kakashi herded him into the bedroom. They noticed that the sky was lightening. Sasuke diverted to the bathroom for a moment to wash the blood from his hands. Kakashi grabbed the towel he dumped the trash on and returned the trash to the can and pulled back the blanket. Sasuke stripped off any constricting clothing, including his bloody white shirt, and crawled into his own bed for the first time in... He'd lost track. 2 weeks? Fuck, 2 weeks away from Kakashi. He'd probably be spending a lot more time without him now. He truly didn't want to be alone. He needed someone, anyone, to stay with him tonight. Thank you, Kakashi, he mumbled and snuggled into the pillow. Kakashi left the room and Sasuke thought he was leaving. The living room light turned off a few minutes later and he assumed Kakashi was gone. Loss struck him in the heart like a sword thrust. But Kakashi returned, put a glass of water and his cell phone on the nightstand, stripped most of his own clothes, and crawled in behind Sasuke. He spooned his younger lover. Sasuke put a hand on Kakashi's arm and gripped it tight, hoping he wouldn't leave. Ever again. Naruto watched Sasuke leave with Kakashi, sighing deeply. He truly hoped they worked it out. It hurt, but not as much as it should, and that left Naruto wondering, why? A month ago, if Sasuke had come to him and told him he was seeing someone else, he would have been happy that Sasuke found someone to share his life with, but he would have been devastated deep down. Sasuke was probably right. Their friendship probably wouldn't have survived. So, what changed in a month? Are you on your way home, Naruto? Sakura asked, pulling on a light jacket with car keys in hand. Her hair was matted on one side from where she had laid down, her jacket crumpled in evidence of it being used as a pillow.
Not yet,
Naruto smiled. Sakura smiled back and laid a hand on his shoulder, leaning up to give him a quick peck on the cheek. Did Sasuke already leave?
Just a few minutes ago. With Kakashi.
Her expression became serious.
Are you okay?
Naruto shrugged his shoulders.
It should hurt worse than this, I'm sure.
That it doesn't, she said, a knowing look to her eye. Naruto shook his head and sighed again.
Yeah, I mean it hurts like hell, but I'm also happy for Sasuke. I can see Kakashi makes him happy, more than I ever did. I was just a nuisance that refused to let him be alone. I don't know.
Don't sell yourself short. A good friend doesn't let a person be alone if they don't have to be. And you know, maybe you weren't as attached to Sasuke as you thought. Or maybe there's someone else that caught your interest?
I doubt it.
He snorted, but paused, a frown tugging at his mouth. Sakura shrugged and left her partner to her thoughts, throwing a good night over her shoulder. Naruto barely acknowledged her. His brow knit in thought.
There's no one else, stupid,
he thought to himself.
Sakura's just messing with your head, but then, no, it's not like that. Besides, Itachi did say something about Data being his boyfriend.
Naruto wasn't aware he had been walking to his car until he turned over the ignition and startled himself from his thoughts. He blinked rapidly, trying to figure out how he got to his car without noticing. He soon gave it up as a lost cause and slammed his door shut.
What are you doing, Naruto? Pulling over a guy who's off limits?
He berated himself, backing out of his parking spot and heading home.
He couldn't think the same way as you do, dumbass. What could he want with a loser who was played by his best friend? Person who turned down numerous opportunities to date other people because he wished for something more from an emotionally stunted asshole.
He was pathetic. He knew it. What person in their right mind slept with only one person since they were 15? He knew the answer. He did. Because he was a lovesick fool that wanted something he knew he could never get. Now he wanted something else he could never have. It came as a total surprise when Naruto walked through the sliding glass doors and saw a packed waiting room instead of the lobby of his apartment. He shook his head and almost turned back but decided, what the hell, and strode towards the visitors' elevators. A security guard attempted to turn him back, but he waved his FBI badge in his face and closed the elevator door on the stunned guard. He stepped out on the 5th floor and walked up to the nurse's station, flashing his badge again. He was greeted with a smile and directed to Itachi's room. And now that he was standing outside Itachi's room, he very much wanted to leave again. I could use the company, Itachi said out of the darkness, stalling Naruto mid-turn. Naruto turned back and walked inside the room. His eyes immediately went to Itachi's bandaged shoulder and chest, trying to ignore the tantalizing patches of bare chest showing around the bandages. It's just a flesh wound, nothing life-threatening, Itachi assured him. They kicked Deidara out. They let him stay far beyond visiting hours, as it was because I had been through a trauma and they felt it best I be with a friend or a family member for a while. Naruto shifted his gaze to Itachi's dark eyes. Even in the semi-darkness, he could see his coal-colored eyes clearly, the eyes that he could be swept up into if he let himself. They were very much like Sasuke's but more relaxed. They had a sharper shape and longer, darker lashes. Sasuke's eyes were rarely kind, but Itachi's were.
Why are you still awake?
Naruto questioned. Why are you visiting before visiting hours? Itachi countered.
I thought I should check up on you myself.
You didn't have to, but I'm glad you did. I was going out of my mind here by myself. I can't sleep and they won't give me any painkillers strong enough to put me out.
Well, we can't have you dying from boredom now, can we?
Naruto laughed, taking a seat next to Itachi's bed. Talking to you is never boring, Itachi admitted, smiling.
Sasuke never appreciated my talking.
Well, I'm not Sasuke, Itachi said, hurt that he was being compared to his little brother. He was beginning to lose hope that he could be the sole focus of Naruto's world. That would always be Sasuke.
Now that's obvious, forgive me. I really don't have no one else to compare circumstances with.
You don't have to compare anything. We're different people.
I know,
Naruto whispered. Itachi sighed. Only Sasuke? He asked. He was curious to know if what Naruto said earlier was true. It seemed impossible that no one but Sasuke had touched his naked body. He had to admit what he was feeling. A sharp jab of jealousy. He was jealous of his little brother. Naruto flushed and stared at the ground.
Can we forget that I said that?
But it's true.
You must think I'm a loser.
Naruto laughed at himself, rubbing the back of his neck.
I mean, who stays with her first?
A lot of people. How old were you? Itachi asked, swallowing thickly. He really wanted to know, but fully expected Naruto to yell at him. It was a highly personal question.
16,
he whispered. Itachi was shocked. He was so young. Too young, in his opinion. Did Sasuke prey on him?
What are you thinking?
Naruto asked, not liking Itachi's look of shock. That you were too young. That Sasuke took advantage of you.
You seem certain that Sasuke initiated it?
Oh, I know he did. Uchihas take the initiative. We always take what we want. It's gotten us plenty of trouble over the years. We're normally likened to predators. Naruto rested his chin on his clasped hands, staring out of the window.
What must you think of me?
He wasn't aware that he said it aloud, but once it was out there, he couldn't take it back. I think you were young. Maybe you didn't know what you were getting into then. Naruto hummed.
Can we not talk about this anymore? Instead, can we talk about you?
What do you want to know? Naruto and Itachi talked for hours before finally falling asleep well after dawn. When Naruto woke, Deidara was sitting in a chair on the other side of Itachi's bed, watching him sleep. Naruto sat up, cracking his back in the process.
What time is it?
Naruto yawned. Around 10:30. Naruto groaned, standing up to stretch out all his kinks. Deidara stared, transfixed by the sliver of caramel skin that was exposed by Naruto's rising shirt. A second later it was gone, and Deidara mourned the loss, but would relish the new images when he checked off later. With Itachi bandaged and in the hospital, he'd have to resort to masturbation for a while.
I'm hungry,
Naruto pronounced. Deidara bit his lip, letting his mind conjure devious images with those words. He shook his head and answered, The cafeteria's open. Why don't you go eat, and I'll stay with Itachi until I get back. Naruto yawned again and nodded, rubbing his gurgling stomach. You can stop fainting, Tachi. I know you're awake, Deidara said as soon as Naruto disappeared through the doorway. You know me too well, Dei. Itachi replied, cracking his eyes open and squinting against the sunlight streaming through his window. You're right. I know you very well. You desire him, don't you, Itachi? There was something akin to a fear in Itachi's eyes, probably for the first time since they met. Itachi tried to smother it. Weren't you the one dreamily talking about having a threesome? I'll never deny it. I love you, Deidara. I know you do, but you're also falling for the other blonde. You and he have been the only ones to trust me since my parents let me babysit my baby brother. Deidara sat on the bed. Your brother trusted you, eventually. And you forget Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan. They let an accused killer live in their house and employed you. Yeah, I don't want a threesome, I've told you why, but I've never described the benefit for you. Deidara said as he caressed Itachi's cheek, and Itachi shut his eyes. You've been alone and running for so long, you need to feel loved. You'd be the focus of our world, Naruto and I. Kiss you everywhere, touch you everywhere. Two men trying to kiss you at the same time. Two sets of lips on your cock. A mouth on your cock and a cock inside your ass. It'd be all about your pleasure, what you want, what you need. Delivered to you by two beautiful blondes. There's so many possible combinations. You'd love to fuck him while I ate you out, wouldn't you? Itachi shuddered. Deidara's hand was trailing down his clothed body to rest on his groin. He gently massaged the bulge there. You can ask anything of us and we'd obey. Want to watch just the two of us blondes together? Want to watch us both checking off, anticipating you entering us? Itachi opened his eyes, and there was no fear in them anymore. Just that dominant lust Deidara was used to and loved. It was those eyes that Deidara first succumbed to. He saw those eyes before he saw the gorgeous face or any other of Itachi's assets. The fear was in Deidara's eyes then as it was now. Itachi was definitely the seme in this relationship. Even when Itachi bottomed, he was in control, except in those few occasions when he completely let himself go. Deidara's favorite moments. Itachi thought he'd be in trouble for lusting after another, or that he'd be the one trying to convince Deidara to accept a threesome, but here was Deidara doing the convincing. He was truly blessed with an understanding lover. And, thankfully, a kinky one. I want everything for you, Itachi. And I find Naruto hot as well. You might have to be careful with him, Itachi. He looks muscular. He might even dom you. Itachi growled in a very dominant way as if to say, like hell. Deidara chuckled and leaned in to give Itachi a brief kiss. Is this about time? Sasuke asked, pausing before rounding the drawn curtain. He heard the growl, but nothing before that. Deidara had just enough time to withdraw his hand from Itachi and sit straighter on the side of Itachi's bed. Kakashi followed behind more lazily. Not at all, Toto. Itachi smiled. He watched Sasuke pause, eyeing Deidara closely. Are you sure? You're not having a fight, are you? Nah, baby Uchiha, we're not fighting, just agreeing on something. Deidara smirked. Stop calling me that! No? Aniki, make him stop! Sasuke whined and stepped closer to his brother. Kakashi's eyebrows nearly met his hairline seeing Sasuke act like a child. Itachi laughed. What brings you by so early? I wasn't expecting to see you until the afternoon. As much as he loved spending lost time with his brother, he was hoping to devote his mornings to one particular blonde. Deidara was just an added bonus. Why would I wait to see my brother? You were shot because of me. It wasn't your fault. Sasuke didn't appear convinced. He knew what Itachi had done for him in the Hyuga home. Itachi pushed him out of the way and took a bullet meant for him. Actually, I've been here for 2 hours. Kakashi only gave me a few hours of sleep before dragging me down here to get this hit to the head looked at. And? I'm fine. I did have a concussion, but I'm recovering fine. The doctor said I should rest for a few days.
Okay, so the cafeteria food sucks. So I went to the little pancake place across the street.
Naruto froze, eyeing Sasuke and Kakashi. He walked around them and laid back in Itachi's lap.
I thought I'd bring you something back too. There's even food for you, Deidara.
Dobe? Sasuke questioned, wondering why he was visiting his brother.
Deme?
Naruto countered. Why are you visiting my brother?
Do I need a reason?
I appreciate all the visitors. It makes me feel loved. Itachi smiled. His grin widened when Naruto's gaze quickly looked downward and a hint of blush dusted his cheeks. And Naruto is good company. His stories are interesting. Especially his adventures with Konohamaru Sarutobi. In a way, it's not like we're strangers. I've been talking with him over the phone for 2 weeks. Naruto took out the styrofoam containers. Deidara pushed Itachi's tray over his body, and Naruto opened the container and put it on the tray. Deidara snatched his container from Naruto's hand eagerly. Itachi demanded syrup, which Naruto provided, putting 5 single-serve packets in his hand. Itachi emptied them all on the blueberry pancakes. Naruto sat down and looked at Sasuke, satisfied that he was left out of their feast. Itachi thanked Naruto and looked at him with soft eyes. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, reading more in his brother's expression than gratitude for food. Sasuke looked at Deidara, but Deidara was too focused on food to notice that look. Sasuke shook his head. He felt bad things coming, and he also wondered why his brother had been pissed at him for having 2 lovers when he was looking at another man in the same room with his boyfriend. Now I'm hungry, Sasuke lied. I'll come to see you later, Itachi. He crowded Naruto to lean over and kiss his brother on the cheek. I hope you know what you're doing, Sasuke whispered. Itachi just hummed in response. Sasuke left, and Itachi hoped he knew what he was doing too. Kakashi followed his lover without a comment. He knew an out when he saw one. Sasuke stopped once they were outside the hospital. What is my brother doing? He lectured me about having 2 lovers, and there he is making eyes at Naruto while Deidara sitting right there! Maybe he gave you a hard time because he was already feeling something for Naruto. You have to admit they've been awfully close since they met. Naruto shielded Itachi from my gun without a thought. Itachi stayed close to him. Maybe Itachi wanted you to break up with Naruto for his own reasons. Sasuke scoffed and turned around. Kakashi hugged Sasuke from behind. Sasuke sighed. Still angry with me? A little. But I think the only way I'm going to keep you, Sasuke's heart stopped, is to marry you. Sasuke didn't expect that. Maybe a suggestion they move in together, but marriage? Of course, he wanted it, but feared Kakashi was still too angry with him. Sasuke turned around. You mean it? I do. Will you marry me? Yes. Sasuke kissed him. After a long kiss, Sasuke pressed his cheek into Kakashi's chest and he said, I love you more than anyone. Naruto was my first, but I never loved him the way I do you. I didn't understand love until I met you. I actually thought I was incapable of love. I love you without reservation. I've only ever submitted to you. I will only ever submit to you. We'll set a date for after your brother is well. Do you want a full wedding, or would you be content with a civil service? Civil. I'm not wearing a white dress, nor am I religious enough. I'll insist on 1 or 2 Shinto Buddhist rites, but I just want to belong to you. As long as we both shall live. Kakashi kissed him briefly. I'll see about booking an appointment at the registrar. Sasuke kissed him again, more jubilant than he had ever been. End of chapter 11. Stay tuned.